that we had were kind of in the same vein, and y'all answered them. I mean, I think very sufficiently. So I don't quite have many more questions, but I feel like everybody here would maybe want to ask you some questions. So I'm gonna kind of open it up to anybody. If y'all want to raise your hand, I can pass it around. If y'all don't have anything, then that's okay too.
What if we have questions?
Well, yeah, if y'all want some questions too.
Let's take it.
Yeah.
You want to ask a question?
I'll do.
Do it.
How do you guys feel about ballroom in Greece? What does ballroom in Greece mean to you? Anybody? Come on, babe.
It's not that long, so you probably gonna have to come up with it.
First of all, we are so happy for special our mother, Tila, of course, our father, because every fucking time when everybody, all of us, we walk, we have session, we have the problems, we have everything. This guy is up to help. Every time, every minute. So we love drama also.
Of course.
Of course. But we have such a power. We are such strong for each other. So everything stops. So we are like family because we are in the beginning and the end. Every time we walk, we are like family. We are in like party. We celebrate. We are happy. And for me, it's very important because I was having I was having my first come out in ballroom. I was having and see myself in this area and this everything. So I'm very glad because we have a big future. I'm very, very glad.
Would anybody else like to answer that question? Yeah.
You got to hear me without voice?
Yes.
Voice or with okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, for me, when I first started to participate in ballroom, it was a wake-up call as it comes to my experience as a trans man. And it was very creative, and I really enjoyed every second of it. But it also showed me how much I have to learn about, not about ballroom only, but about life through ballroom. So for me, it's a constant learning experience and a constant opportunity to find more about yourself through that experience. And in Greece specifically, I had no idea that this could exist up until very recently. And I am very happy that it's becoming more well known so that more trans people can participate, because I like to see trans people participating. And I think that we just need to support each other, as you said, and to uplift each other, and to see where this community can take us and what it has to teach us. So also thank you for being here and learning us and helping us learn and evolve through that.
Anybody else? Or do you have any more questions? Lisa. Don't put it too close to your face so you sound like this.
Well, I have a question because I think you learn a lot when you're very low in life. So I would like to ask you if you have any like turning points in your life that you learned a lot about that made you like realize stuff about life and your existence here in Earth.
For me, it was when I started college, 19, and I started transitioning when I was 19. And I was in hair school because I decided I wanted to do hair for a living. So I was in hair school and I was going to school as trans. And I had been living amongst my community and my people already, as I was. But to be put in that box with all these straight, cisgendered women, and it was maybe one or two men in the whole school. And to have to live amongst them in the school and learning that I could do this was a breaking point for me. I was terrified at one point because I felt like I don't want to go to school. I don't feel like all these people know MIT. I got to sit here and answer all these questions every day and go through everybody didn't like me. I was not everybody's favorite. Some people were definitely not into trans women or the existence of trans women in their school, especially a trans woman that was doing hair and things better than on the level that they were doing. So, but for me to be able to sit there for 2 years and battle it out and make it through was a breaking point for me. And the true breaking point was when we were right before graduation and you realize who your real supporters are. I had some real down homegirls. That's what we call them, homegirls. I didn't know that it was people that had more love for me than I even imagined having for myself. And it helped me to learn to love myself more through their love for me, because I realized okay, you can do this. This is possible. And you're doing it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm really making it. I finished hair school and I'm standing here with these people and we have the same respect. When I first started, it was a lot of questions transferred. By the time I got to the end, it was just Devine. The trans wasn't even an issue. They helped me forget at times. I had to remember, girl, all right now. I had to remember what I was, because it had got to a point where they had empowered me and made me feel so good that that subject just was so far off. And so it did that for me. And so whenever a person was after that came to challenge that or make me feel lesser or thought they could make me feel lesser than what I was because of what I had already dealt with and what was installed through my friends and my people or people that became my people, there was nothing nobody else could tell me.
I always tell people at the age of 19, coming out and finding ballroom, living in New York City in 1990, in the 1990s, and being in Manhattan and Times Square. The Times Square that I grew up in is not the Times Square you see now or you've ever visited. It was a completely different story. But to see all that, there was a lot of things running around the city, from drugs. HIV, AIDS was just so all over the place, like crackheads all over. And it wasn't up until I really got into ballroom that I got introduced to death on a first-hand basis that I ever, Not in my real life, not in my school life. It wasn't until that I stepped foot into the ballroom that a lot of people that I would meet would die. You know, all from different reasons. Some, you know, a lot because of HIV and AIDS, a lot because of drug abuse, a lot now because of suicide. And every death chips away at you. And there was one time as you're hearing this one died, that one died, and you can't believe it, it starts to close in closer to your inner circle. It gets closer and it's closer and it's closer. And when it penetrates that inner circle, when it's one of the people that sat in the house meeting with you, one of the people that you have those specific bonding moments with you, it takes a little bit away from you. It chips away, chips away, chips away. And then what happens is you start to remember who you are and what you have to do. You know, this is why when I go out, I have fun, because Mikey can't have fun anymore, Barbie can't have fun, Danielle can't have fun, Octavia, Roger, you know, all the people before me. And it wakes you up, and you try to talk to the next person that you see going down the same rabbit hole that could be possible. And you speak these people's names so that the people coming tomorrow don't forget, so that they know what we've experienced. And when I see my younger kids now dealing with death, they're more fragile than we were. You know, you would think now with the evolution of it, but it doesn't matter. Some people just are not introduced to it, and when it is, you can't help it. So that's always the snapback for us when somebody, whether you're in our house or just somebody of the community. I mean, shoot, even celebrities. You know, Matthew Perry died the other day, and I had to get a beer. I didn't even like Friends, but you know, when you're used to people and you're used to having that around, and that's taken away from you, and you won't see these people anymore, it does a big deal of damage. So that's why we celebrate life.
Yeah, so mine's is the same. I think we all share a lot of the same stuff from finding, like, tapping into our sexuality and understanding who we are. You know, ballroom for me has done an amazing job at just teaching me. I mean, my parents taught me, but ballroom has taught me. It's taught me and it's developed me to an extent. So tapping into sexuality, having a child. I have a biological child as well, and I have a lot of house kids. So all of those things really, they do something to you, because like Jack said, sometimes you start out with a group of people and then they might end up in other houses. You know, that does a number on you, because you create bonds with these people. But you also learn, you learn how to attach and unattach. But the attachment is still there, because we're all still family. Like, yeah, so many things, relationships, all of those things, they just develop the fuck out of you, you know? They do. Yeah, so yeah, all of those things, dealing with society, looking at what's going on in the world and how the world is unfortunately still so biased and so hateful. That does a number on you as well. But having a place like ballroom where that love is there, that passion is there, I feel like ballroom is a place that the world should really follow after. It's not perfect, but I think we're the closest thing on this planet to inclusion, to coming together and being as one. And even though ballroom is the harshest on the floor, it's the harshest judgment you will ever have, but we have the tightest bond when it comes to the world.
Lucian, I know you wanted to.
I wanted to ask a question. Yeah. So I have a question for you. I have two, but I'm gonna ask this first one. What do you think is for you, what is the most important part of when you go to a ball for you? When are you the most happiest at a ball?
So for me specifically, I grew up as a very creative kid that was doing a lot of stuff with art. So being a part of ballroom and having the opportunity to show everyone my creations, even if it's outfits, makeup, hair, or just like a detail on an outfit. If it's Vogue Femme, because it's not a fashion category, for example, that gives me life. The fact that I will be noticed for what I created myself, and I'm being noticed in a community that out of it wouldn't mind, like in most of people, you know. And for me, ballroom has taught me that, has given me the opportunity to show my true self, to explore myself, to explore what I'm capable of doing, that modeling or some workshops outside of it wouldn't give me. That's it.
Maybe they have to.
Sorry.
We're working it out.
So, hi. Well, for me, I think that every time I go at a ball, I'm over the moon happy. Because I know that everybody has tremendous struggles. It's different, but all of us struggle a lot. And to see people being there, walking or enjoying themselves, that makes me feel so happy, and I forget about everything, and I feel like there is hope and we can work it together, and this is it. That's it. Yeah.
So I want you all to think about this. The next time you go to a ball, before the ball starts, and you just sit and you watch as people are coming in, you just watch. To me, that's the happiest time at a ball. So when we're all first getting there, and we're seeing each other, and houses are hanging out, and people are hugging, and people are talking, before the seriousness of competition begins. The other night, I totally enjoyed the energy. I love to see you all coming out. The creativity on your costume choices was so brilliant to me. I love this POV. I knew it was gonna be something special. I was blown away by it. But I was a little disappointed because I heard after the fact some people were really upset that they didn't win. And it's okay, it's the competition in you, but don't ruin the moment because you lost. Because guess what? At least you know about ballroom. At least you found the community. There's always another ball. The icon Eric Christian Bazaar has always said it. It's okay. Yeah, we all want to win, and sometimes you put your all into something, and the way you see it is not the way it comes out, but it's okay. Do not ruin the experience for yourself by putting so much pressure on yourself and thinking that you should win or gonna win all the time. Have fun. Relax.
Did you have a second question, though, John?
No,
That was
a
it?
statement. So I also, we talked about bringing more trans women. We talked about bringing more trans women into the scene, right? I also want you to look around and look at your queer people of color. Okay? We do understand that there's not a big abundance of it. This is not New York. This is not Harlem. But as long as you're reaching out to people, to letting them know that this is your space, find them. Find them. If it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4, it doesn't matter. Find them. When I first went to Paris, there was no trans women, but one just thinking about it. Now it's so beautiful to go back and see all the blossoming girls that are coming up. Some are legends, some upcoming legends, and there's going to be some future icons. So find them. It is your job. You are the ambassadors, the agents of change. Together, we are eliciting change within ourselves. Yeah, the world outside is crazy and there's a lot going on, but when we're together, we are a legion. We are powerful. If we were to call out a call tomorrow and say, all ballroom people unite, can you imagine how many of us can stand and say, I am proud to be ballroom? So do that. Build this army.
So about this, this might come out a little bit strange, but ballroom actually helped me accept my blackness. As an Egyptian black person, I grew up with a really racist ideology of what blackness is. And I was like, my mother would cut my hair and would do some really weird stuff. I love her, don't get me wrong, but she's... No, I started growing my hair 2 years ago. Yeah, I always had like a really short hair, and ballroom actually made me feel really empowered by seeing all the black beauties, and made me realize how beautiful is my hair, how beautiful is my, even if I'm like white actually, but I always didn't feel in the right place with the right people, even if it's my family, even if it's outside. So having this encouragement coming from the black community and the black trans community was really, really important. Seeing you guys here is fundamentally amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah, of course, this is really important to reach out to the black kids out there that are brown that need ballroom, and I had no idea about this, about the whole ballroom scene till like 2021 when Selena actually, I saw her stories and I was like, what is going on there? I really need to know. I really need this. And it helped me with my femininity a lot and my masculinity a lot. And yeah, so I love ballroom, and thank you, ballroom. That's it.
Legion, did you want to ask your question if you remember it still?
Hi everybody. I actually had a question. It was more because I've actually had the privilege, which it is, to go to a lot of balls in Europe and also walk twice in the States this year. My question is actually, is there some, like for all the times you've been in Europe, what is your hope that you will see that is missing the European scene if you compare it to the States? Because I felt there was more embrace, warmthness, even though I was new in the States compared to walking in Europe. But I don't know if it's just me.
It's not just you. It's not just you.
Again, I say, like, I think a lot of people have seen the documentaries. I don't like any of the documentaries myself personally, because I feel like, one, they weren't done by us. And so a lot of times when it comes to Hollywood or whoever's doing it, they like to either make it very dark, or they just like to pick and choose what they put in there. And so I think people have this idea about ballroom, and especially now that it's more acceptable, because when I came into it, if you told people you were in ballroom, they would turn their nose up at you. They'd be like, oh, you one of the ballroom kids? Like, ugh, you know? But now it is more accepted. You can make a living off of it. And unfortunately, I feel like sometimes in ballroom overseas, people are being opportunist off it, or, you know, using it to feed their ego. Not everywhere, you know. Most of the places I go to, it has a really beautiful energy to it. I know every place has its drama, but for the most part, most places have beautiful energy with it. But I think a lot of people get caught up into their ego and the opportunity of it.
The difference for me is just simply just a different point of view. like I said, how you all brought your costumes to life is completely different. How the Parisians bring it to life, how the Americans bring it to life. So again, as a person who gets to go to all of these different countries and cities and states, and having watched all the cities start growing out. When I came out, we were only going to balls in Jersey and Philly. We talked about this the other day. Then Connecticut happened, then Boston, then Atlanta happened, then California, then Chicago. So we watched it grow. We watched it start growing, and having the opportunity to go around and seeing how people bring it. The advantage I feel that the European scene does have is that, especially in Paris, like, the festivals are willing to work with you. The opportunity for city government sponsorship, having the Parisians being able to vote for the president, that's huge. That's the president of France, So that's just adding more feathers in the cap of what queer people can do through the lens of ballroom. So I really think that's the difference. I think for y'all, whenever you come to, whether it's the latex ball or the awards ball or any ball you come to the US, the pressure's always gonna be a lot, because the microscope that you're under is that, hey, we're from Europe, so we got to represent. And if you get out there and it's not translated as you've seen, or if you get chopped or you don't win, then you come back with this pressure. No, at least you had the balls to go out there. At least you had the opportunity to experience it. There are girls who've been living in America for years who still can't win a ball. So just because you went to the latex ball or didn't win or got processed your first battle, don't come back to your cities, to your community, and let people who didn't travel make you feel smaller about getting out there. Okay? So do what you are doing. This is your area. This is your time. And you're doing it under the rules, under the guidance, under the traditions that was created. So like we said it from the beginning, know the history so you can start creating your own lane. And that's all it is. That's the big difference for me.
To me, it's not really much of a difference. It's the timeline. You guys are where we were at that one time. And it's all about growth, development, and enrichment. So I don't really see much difference. I remember when we were all just like this, and I wish I could go back to that sometime. It was so much more camaraderie at one time. But as things got bigger, the separations began, and and all these different factors factored in, and things changed. I love my ballroom scene. I love my ballroom scene in my West Coast. I love it in my nation. What was it? In the States. And I love it when I get to see, when I go other places and get to see the development of their ballroom. I remember going to Paris and being amazed. I remember going to London. I just, so to watch the growth and then come back, to me, it's when I come back and I see the growth. So I don't really think that it's that you're different. You're just younger. How is this like Mackenzie? What's going on here? How are you? When are we gonna get a movie? What's up with the wireless mic?
Does anybody else have?
So you are all parents in ballroom, and this is a role you've obviously all been doing for many, many years, holding up your kids, and y'all are from big, houses, and, like I said, it's been years. But as a parent, in ballroom, when you're dealing with so many things, so many different situations on a daily basis, from mental health to addiction to families breaking up, and at the end of the day, you are just one person, one individual trying to help. So when you're holding up everybody else, as a parent, who is holding you up? And how have you managed to be able to do that for the many years that you've done it? Because it is really difficult, and it is very much like, it feels to me as someone like, who hasn't got the years that you have, it feels like very much like an endurance test. And while the parents are looking after the kids, who is it that's looking after the parents? Because y'all are human too. So yeah, that's the question.
the only person that's bigger than me.
Yeah, it is a lot. I have a lot of patience, but I also find that as you get older, you have a less patience. So, but also I think it's very important, and I tell people this all the time, because sometimes I hear people come into ballroom and they're like, oh my God, ballroom, people in ballroom are so fierce, blah, blah, blah. And I always say, like, who do you put yourself around? Like, put yourself around good people, and you will, not that it will be perfect, even if you put yourself around good people all the time, you're going to have, you know, some spiky moments. But watch who you put yourself around, because for me, when I have so much to deal with all these kids in all these different countries, even the politics, like sometimes, and I'm not a political person, so sometimes I just be like, oh my God, like, but my kids, and we say kids, but they're adults. They're all adults. And there's who I put myself around, that is my support. You know, and so they pay attention to me, I pay attention to them. When they see it's too much for me, they be like, you okay? You know, you need a break or whatever. And and then I have my biological family as well.
I mean, support does show itself up for me through, you know, my house, my sisters. You know, I have a connection of friends that I built over 30-something years ago. Strong networks, you know, it's not all house-based. You know, I sit on the phone with Shannon Garson, I'll sit on the phone with Devine. Me and Devine's been friends for so long. Devine just only became a Gucci 4 years ago, you know, with us. And her being a Chanel or a Lambda and me being a Mizrahi never separated what we can talk about our houses. There's no big secret. You know, we're not creating the cure for cancer and we can't share with each other, so we do show up for each other. The kids themselves are amazing. Now you're starting to see more community amongst, you know, the younger kids, and they're reaching out and reaching up. If you all just seen the Landon ball that happened that day, actually, I came back from, my nephew got shot in Brooklyn, 21 years of age. That morning was his funeral. The day before was his wake. 2 weeks before that, when I got the news, I was in Paris at the club. Once the Paris chapter found out about that, they sent 500 euros to my sister to make sure she's okay. Once the kids in New York found out about it, they were calling, sending flowers. So people show up for you in different ways. It's not about money, it's not about houses, it's just about who's in your life that you built those connections with. And the disadvantage that everybody has now is that the loyalty. See, when we came out, my mother was Danielle Revlon, and you'll only ever hear me say I've had one ballroom mother. I didn't have a Kiki mother, I didn't have a twin, I didn't have a granny, I didn't have a sis, I didn't have a bestie. My allegiance was to Danielle. Problem is now your allegiances are split, because by the time you even get a chance to make a bond in a house, you left. How do you already fighting for a house you just got into 2 weeks ago? Yeah, you should be proud of where you at, but learn the history, know the people, because that's phony. You know, there's a lot of fake bonds. Somebody you just met yesterday is not your sister. And as the houses are growing, I tell the kids all the time, you're all house members. As you're growing this experience, and it's not about wins, you don't become family because you're winning, you become family because you're making the effort. And that's all it is.
For me, it's my core group. My core group, my Jack, my best friends that I grew up with. We've been best friends since I was 14, and we were in middle school, and Jack knows still, we are all still best friends to this day. We grew up falling asleep on the phone. You know what I mean? Like, and we are still like this to this day. Like, since I've been here, how many times have you seen me on the phone with Winnie, and they call and they, you know, telling he's looking at the pictures and all of the things.
And your mother.
And my mom, and definitely my mom. That's my core group. You know what I mean? So, but definitely within ballroom, I fall back on my sister icons. My legendary sisters are my icons, because we're all of the same generation and we kind of have the same mind and perspective and understanding because we came up in that era. So yeah, I have had times where I have been broken and disappointed with ballroom enough to the point where I thought I was done. And you know, my sisters and Sanaya, Jack and Sanaya, gave me a different perspective and a different view on to look at it. And I came back and I reconquered it. And I was like, you know what? And here I am. That's all I can really say. It's my core group. You know, you have people that you trust, and you put your trust in, and they put your trust in you, and you know what's real. You know your real bonds and your real people. I will never, ever worry about getting a call hearing that Jack said this about me, Sanaya said that about me, or Winnie or Coco. Well, yeah, you know, any of that. Never. So that's my core group.
Or steal from you, or steal or sleep with your man.
I think you got a pair of my glasses, but that's okay.
That's my jacket
I
over
want to
there.
ask a question. I want to ask a question to them, but also to y'all. So, when did you get your first child?
Ooh.
91 Marlon, 92 Marlon.
Okay, and you?
Light skinned Marlon, that walked face.
Yes.
My first child is so funny. I'm probably like 19. We were in college. I guess because I was the more popular one, they really weren't my children, they were really my friends. But I ended up being the mother, and this story is hilarious. And we all had these funny names, and that's where I got named Devine. My other child was Marvelous. So cliche. And yeah, so it was about, I would say, 95, 96.
Okay. I didn't have my first child until like 10, or maybe 10 or 13 years in Baltimore. Yeah.
Was it Trace, the first one?
No. My first child.
I had my first child before I came to Marlon.
It was around the Laomis.
Oh.
Yeah.
Your angel era.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I had my first child. So when did some of y'all get y'all first kids?
So for me, it was when I was 4 years in ballroom. It was really weird because this person was really looking up to me, and I was also still learning from what ballroom was, because I learned from the YouTubes, you know, just seeing clips and everything, you know, educating myself, watching videos, did a lot of research on with the Luna show. So yeah, the Vogue nights in the 2011s and everything, you know. So when I got my first kid, it was like, okay, I already know how to be a parent in real life because I have been a parent since I was 17 and my son is 13 right now. So I was like, okay, what do I have to give this young adult in ballroom? And at that moment, it was like, okay, am I really a parent? Can I really give him that much in ballroom? Until this day, like, he's still next to my side, and I have multiple kids. So yeah, it's like since 2016, 17 where I got my first kid. I did have a different question though, because that's a thing going on in ballroom right now where a lot of people feel like entitled to be a parent. Especially when they make their first step with this person. And I'm always telling people like, listen, I get that this person gave you your first step in ballroom, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be your mother or your father. It could also be your brother or your sister. And there's a lot of people that are missing the conception of being a parent in ballroom. Which really saddens me sometimes because sometimes I feel like, okay, everybody wants to be a parent in ballroom, but what can you really give people in ballroom? Like I said, like also said, like One of my first parents in ballroom is Morena. She like you probably don't know her. She really gave me my first step in ballroom when I like in 2011. She was teaching me how to vogue. She was telling me a lot about ballroom, and especially because I had a disability back then, still have, learning me how to move with my body and everything, you know, and inviting me into ballroom and showing me what ballroom was. It was something really special to me. And when Deshaun came into my life, he gave me the tools about like, okay, this is what you can do, this is how ballroom is and everything, you know. And all of you over here like really inspired me to be a parent in ballroom and give the next generation also not only what is happening today, but also giving them about the history of ballroom and then what happened in ballroom, you know, even though I'm still learning. So out of that, I really want to thank you for being here and also giving us the opportunity to bless you with your presence and also giving us about the history, like your history in ballroom. So thank you so much for that.
Okay, I want to tap into your nostalgia for a moment and take advantage of your precious presence tonight. I would like for you to share with us some things about balls that we don't get to see happening these days. Anything like categories that don't happen anymore, or like practical things like venues, sitting, anything that could go that we don't get to see since you're here. Yeah, I want to know.
Right.
Okay, so there's a category that I know y'all will love, but they don't have it anymore. It used to be called fag out. It used to be called, and Butch Beat Up in Pumps, but fag out was the category. It was like the audacity to show up and be just that raging fag. You know, we use those words that they threw at us for years. They haunted us, and we turned it into something positive. So the category would be fag out, a day at the beach. You know, how do you come to the beach and just make all eyes turn and look at you? Come upset the beach, come blow up the spot. You know, fag out, a day out of, you know, at your family reunion on Christmas. I mean, and it was outrageous. And I mean, there's some people who was just so phenomenal in it. I mean, just the things that they thought of. And if you go back to get a chance to see these categories, you would see that that would be like the light moments of ballroom where people just stand up and clap and go crazy and go nuts. Some of our venues, like, you know, the Elks Lodge, what you seen in Paris is Burning, I missed it by a year. We're still wishing we can be there. And that was a great thing about ballroom for us, right? Because every year there was another mecca in the city as far as where we would go. We would go to the Mark Ballroom. That's where all the balls were out on 14th Street. Then that closed. Then we got the YWCA in Brooklyn with the whole balcony. And we had some incredible moments there. And then that closed, and then we got the Lab, right? And then that closed, and then we had Esquilitas, and then that closed. So we evolved through venues and those spaces, and that's why in those parties and those clubs, a lot of promoters like to do, oh, we're having a warehouse reunion. No, you're not. The reunion in the warehouse is if we have it in the warehouse building. I understand the party was the name, but, you know, let those lying dogs lie. We had those memories. But yeah, you would have loved fag out. It was everything. And then we used to have a category called legs, thighs, and ass for the boys. It was boys with nice legs, nice asses, and big thighs. That was the category. And then grand prizes were more as a house. You know, I've won several. Me and Andre, that was the one thing about the House of Mizrahi. The first 2 years we opened, we, as a house categories or whatever the grand prize would be, whether it was for one person or for two people representing the house, we would walk and we would battle the House of Richards. They were phenomenal. The mother was outstanding. May she rest in peace. She used to sew, and I think she used to have elves in her basement because she used to send those kids through with so many outfits and so many looks. Miss Angel, the birds. We battled those bitches one day for Military Runway Bazaar. And we were that. We were sitting all these with this like stuff made out of cushion and different colors. These bitches came out with these military batons and they were spinning their guns to the beat, to the drum beat. Ba, 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 ba. You gotta see it. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Where can we see it?
Just look for the Angel, the House of Riches Grand Prize on YouTube. You should be able to see it. And during the thing, as they're spinning the guns and they catch the beat, they start all walking at once and they spread their arms. The fucking jackets turns into wings. Their hats pop open and doves fly out. And they won over us unanimously, but yeah. So those were the memories. And even in defeat, we had some great ass times.
I have good news for you.
Yes?
Copenhagen Fag Out has been thriving the past 2 years.
Really works! Viva la Fag
And so much so that sometimes we have Fag Out versus Dyke Out.
Versus what out?
Dyke
Out. Oh, work for the dykes! So it's words like that, we're so afraid to use amongst other people, but amongst us, as long as we're using it right,
Yeah.
I feel that, we have the right to use those words. They were thrown at us. And that's why it was important, as we started seeing more women coming to ballroom, more cisgender women, especially here in Europe. One thing I would always tell cities when I go to, please, you're going to hear me say the word cunt. You let that word take the power of women for so long because some cisgender man decided to call you that and make it mean something else. We put that power back into it. When we say cunt, it's a term of endearment. Well, depending on how we say it. But most of the times when we say cunt, it is a term of endearment. Everybody wants to be cunt. Everybody wants to sell cunt. So it's those words, just reclaim your strength,
That's deep, because that's cunt.
So when I'm teaching in class and I'm saying, I need you to be a faggot, it's because I'm thinking about fag out and how they were, when I'm like, oh, cunty, like, I need you to be cunty.
And the thing is, honestly, when you come into ballroom, that's the thing, the magic of ballroom right there. When you found out that there was ballroom and you walked into those doors, you realized that it was okay to be a faggot and you are going to be a fabulous fucking faggot. If that's what they're going to call you, then they're going to know your name. And look at us now.
Yeah.
We're two badass faggots.
Yeah, what other categories was hot? It was Queen Up in Pumps, which I used to kiki at all the time.
Yes.
They
used to go in though. These girls used to do jumping jacks and
They would do flips and then run real cunt down the runway. They would really walk in their heels, and then it was Shade Fest runway. Where
the girls couldn't do that now though.
Yeah.
Like girls used to literally walk up and down the runway and slam cakes in each other's faces.
Yes, big cake. That was Monica Sunbeam.
Or St.
Clair with a cake and walk and go pop. Big cake. Or was it Harmonica Sunbeam with the big powder puff?
Oh my God.
Like the compact things, but you go boom.
All you see is powder. Or people would have powder, they would have baby powder in their hand. It was
or the one when Tony and Andre were they were doing that battle Shade Fest runway,
and then he gripped her face.
And he gripped Andre went and Tony
got her.
And it just held his face in the hand. It was
it was nasty.
Wait, that wasn't
when Selvin broke their umbrella with the hammer.
Yes.
She was walking with a hammer down an umbrella. The post she got ripped. Ripped.
That was a category?
Yeah, Shade Fest runway. And it's kind of Shade Fest. You got to throw shade. And see, you have to be, I feel like it takes a special person to throw the right amount of shade. Like, it should be spontaneous. Like, we should be gagging. It shouldn't be predictable.
Yeah. Perfect example. Did you see Lola battle Lena? Yeah. So when Lola went to hug Lena and Lena did like this, and then Lola turned around and got berated. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Did you see the response of the crowd? That whole segment is not something we've seen in 10 years anybody be able to do with just movement to wake up the crowd. That's shade.
That's shade.
That's shade. You don't have to touch a girl to throw shade. You don't have to. And another thing that's happening, and I want y'all to stop, you haven't done it yet, but they're doing it. When you're walking against somebody, you're coming to the judges, you don't need to point to me out to the other girl. People talk like when the girls are walking realness, they want to read each other, they want to talk bad about the other girl. Now the runway girls are doing it. Like you're walking up and down, but now you're concentrating on the judge to tell me, look at her feet. I don't want to hear that. Keep walking. That's not shade. Shade is avoiding that bitch and then laughing at her because you avoided her. So do not debate while you're walking. All the categories are not for debate. If you're selling face, sell face. I don't need to hear anything out of your mouth because what, if you say something funny, I'm supposed to give you my score? No, I'm supposed to base you on your face.
Same thing in performance. Like it's not about who's in the front.
Yes.
You're fighting to get in the front, but you're not performing, so you look a mess.
There's no space right there. We spend so much money to give you a runway. Go. That's why I did 3 Blind Mice with the beginners, because it's a crowded space, and for you to excel, you have to stick out. Performance is sticking out.
Yeah, it's not a fight with Old Way. Listen, Old Way is a category where yes, locking is involved, but locking does not mean wrestling. You know, and there's a specific way that you lock. It should look artistic. It should be spontaneous. I shouldn't be able to see that you're coming to lock them or dragging the person out and run away. Especially when it comes to female figures. Like if you're a bush queen, a male figure, and I watch people a lot. If you won't go up to another male figure and grapple them, why are you going up to a female figure? Like, no.
And y'all should split up the categories as well. I know it's still pretty early, but you know, I think the female figures should have their lane. If you're walking body, you're walking sex siren, you're walking performance. There was a lot of OTA, especially with body and sex siren. We are opening lanes. When I started sex siren, it was just only one. Right? Femme Queen Sex Siren was the first one. It was just Sex Siren. And then as we started seeing the girls growing and a new girl started coming up, automatically Junior evolved. Same thing with the boys. It was just only one. Then we started seeing that there was a need to have a lane for some of the, you know, smaller, feminine, more boys. So we created the Cat Boy that gave you that lane. Junior and Senior automatically evolved because bigger, muscular types was coming into the scene. Now we're getting bigger boys. Like in Paris, we created a lane called Fish Sticks, right? So that's for the feminine, you know, GNC boys that with the feminine energy. So now if we're getting, I had a big boy sex siren. At one point in Escuelitas, we created it. Greg Balenciaga won like the most out of everybody. He was winning constantly. Then people in the state wasn't walking anymore. But now when I come to Europe and I see how you all opened up a lane for every types of body. So let them celebrate that by letting them have the moment in creating trophies. And also, every ball you have, you don't have to have every category on it. You know, if there's not a category on it this time, it makes the person who didn't see their name either walk something else or wait for the next ball with anticipation. So just find a cap of how many categories, but certain things should definitely be split. Face you should split. Let the boys and the girls have their different lanes. And then eventually you'll be able to even split those even further. You'll be able to have cisgender face. You'll be able to have, you know, GNC feminine energy, GNC male energy. You'll be able to split it as more people come. But now give the two sexes, the three sexes, or the non-binary sexes an option to take home a trophy. Because it's to track your wins as well. Not you doing it yourself, but y'all as a governing body should be able to look back and be like, oh, this girl wanted this ball, and have an archive. Because that's your oral history. It's those early names that's going to later on be legends in 5 more years. And don't rush that process. Don't rush to be legend. Right now, this pool, if somebody has to say who, when you talk about legendary, then you didn't do your job. You get what I'm saying? And now the room is so crowded with people rushing to this legendary status. You guys are so fresh and so new. Let it mean something when you become it. As a legend, you'll know when you're a legend because you're not going to ask for it. You're not going to buy it. You're not going to beg for it. It's going to come to you. You're going to actually elevate. Correct? We ascended. Nobody told us, I'm making you legend tomorrow. When they started calling you a legend, he was like, oh, okay. There was no plaque. There was no presentation.
I thought it was like a certificate of merit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thanks.
And I get why everybody wants it now, because everybody wants it later. But it means more to you when you've gotten it the right way. Took the right way. You have the opportunity. Yeah.
So talking about categories, because I know there was a category, and if I'm correct, who's zooming who or who zooms who? can you please explain us what this category is all about? Because like recently, this category has been come up in Europe, and people were asking like, okay, what the hell is this category? Because it looks so much fun and everything, you know. But yeah, people like, yeah, I got people in the live and also that like would love to know.
So who's someone who was just a way to gag the crowd? Like, I think people were so stuck on the ideas of tops and the top and the bottom, bottom and the top, so that when they saw two realness boys together walking as you can't tell who's the top, who's the bottom, it excited people. And then that used to be the trend. That's when people used to get up. Like you see, what was it, Scorpio Extravaganza, and another one in, what was his name? The two Extravaganza boys used to walk. And they used to just slay it because they look so macho, and then they get up there and they just start kissing, so although judges would get their rocks off. But it wasn't until two feminine kids went up there and killed it and kissed in front of everybody. Everybody was like, oh my God. So it was just an idea of, hey, by looking at us, can you tell what roles we play? You can't tell who's me up.
Okay, so it's kind of silly after all these talks, but I always have the question in mind. I see all the time people, spectators, or between us doing like this thing or this thing, and I have no idea where this comes from. Like, does it mean something? How did this?
What do you mean? What are they doing?
Like, instead of clapping, we do like this or like this.
That's a bunch of people that's seeing stuff and they want to record what they do. The first person that I ever seen stand up and clap and do like this was Stuart. And it was this thing that you seen the older girls do. And it was like, you know, like, okay, bitch, I'm not going to do too much. I'm not going to give you much, but you turning it, I see it. And then now you see a bitch who just came out yesterday just sitting there giving this. You're like, bitch, that's not props.
And
Get the hell up.
They'll look while they're doing it. They'll be like,
yeah.
Well, from our perspective on the West Coast, it came from watching In Living Color.
Two Snaps?
Yes, it used to. So that's a TV show, and it was a comedy show, and the two men, it was two hilariously gay men that would portray Cisco and eeVee, but it would be the gay version. So they would give the cinema that they, the movie that they liked, they would give it 2 snaps in a circle. So that's kind of where it came from us, because it would be like, you know, that was their approval. So at Ballroom, we would reiterate that. We'd be like, oh, yes, 2 snaps. Wow. And instead of claps. That's where it came from my perspective from us. That's how we used to use it.
I think it's stingy. Bitch, clap. If you're going to clap, clap.
And to me now it's catty. A little bit. Well, it could be both. It could be both, because it's like, girl, you want to. It's like, yeah, nice girl. You know what I mean? Like
a girl that's turning it, you're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
A girl that's not, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
No.
But now that when we see you guys doing it, maybe you go back.
Yeah, girl, there she goes. Yeah, where's my phone?
But it was actually catty, like.
Pass the bluntness thing. Here you go, girl.
Yeah, what she said.
Real quick. So I have a question because
you got our number. I'm just kidding.